today we are going to learn about Arun Kolatkar's short poem The Bus. The poem is taken from the collection of Jejuri, as you can see on the right side, Jejuri Arun Kolatkar, and there is a book by Amit Chaudhary. There is an introduction of Amit Chaudhary. If you have not that book, it doesn't matter. Let us continue. This is Arun Kolatkar. Now, this man probably is proposing something to us. Look at this man. This man has something to say. The poem is very simple, but does in that simplicity the poet try to express a simple idea or something else? Let us find out. So we move back to the poem, original poem itself. Here, the bus, Arun Kolatkar. The tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down on the windows of the state transport bus all the way up to Jejuri. So we can find it out. Here the tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down. Very simple expressions. All of Jejuri poems are written in simple terms, simple language. So there will not be any problem in understanding the language or the subject matter of the poem. However, through the simple lines and simple subject or theme, maybe the poet has something else to say. So let us find out. The tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down on the windows of the state transport bus. Now we all know about it. So we have here, look at here, I have a picture of the old transport bus. Now you can imagine the upper part or the upper portion of the bus will be covered by a tarpaulin. Now this tarpaulin covered bus were delivered in the earlier periods. Now we have also the modern day state transport bus, like something like this. We all have a visual of this somewhere in our locality or in the highways. So the tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down, so naturally these are covered. The upper part is covered of the bus on the windows of the state transport bus. Maybe due to the rainy season, maybe the bus was driving towards its destination in a rainy season, then therefore the tarpaulin was put over the bus and it was already buttoned down so that no drop of rain or the cold, another possibility, the chilled cold wind should not be entered into the inside of the room, inside of the bus. So the tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down on the windows of the state transport bus all the way up to Jejuri. So the bus is going through the road and its destination is Jejuri. Now we all have an idea about Jejuri, but if you have not, let me point out what is Jejuri. See that Jejuri is remembered or well known, popular because of this Khandoba temple. This Khandoba temple, a very famous religious spot where people used to go. See that there is another picture during a festive season, and during this festive season people used to spread turmeric. See that here the people are gathering together. Now in that place people used to or the devotees used to come only to see the god. Now here we have another picture of Khandoba temple. This is somehow not very crowded, less crowded temple. So Jejuri is famous for this, and the people in the bus were coming to Jejuri because of the same purpose that the devotees used to come. So the tarpaulin flaps are buttoned down on the windows of the state transport bus all the way up to Jejuri. So the bus is driving towards Jejuri and people are inside. They are the pilgrimage. A cold wind keeps whipping and slapping a corner of tarpaulin at your elbow. So this is a very poor, pithy condition of the state transport bus, and the wretched condition of the bus is being expressed here. Now we have also the rattling sound of something. A cold wind keeps whipping and slapping a corner of a tarpaulin at your elbow. So that here you can find a detachment. See, at your elbow, who is this you? Maybe the poet, maybe someone, an younger pilgrimage in the bus. Here a figure of speech is introduced, which is called onomatopoeia. The sound itself repeats in a way so that you have an idea of that object matter or the subject matter. Here a cold wind keeps weeping and slapping. Naturally, you can have this idea that a tarpaulin can make such sound, weeping and slapping, as if it's weeping on the bus and it's slapping on the side and slapping a corner of tarpaulin at your elbow. So your elbow will be touched by the a part of tarpaulin which is continuously weeping and slapping due to the cold wind or the sweep of the wind. Now moving on to the, I will be coming to this part again or the whole poem again, but let us move on. You look down to the roaring road, you search for the signs of daybreak in what little light spills out of the bus. You look down to the roaring road. See that roaring road is here another figures of speech. First of all, it is alliteration because the consonant sound raw is repeated in these two words, but this is not that significant. The significant part of this line is this: you look down to the roaring road. How could a road be roaring? A road could not be a roaring road. Roaring, it makes a sound. Roaring is making a sound. Naturally, road cannot make the sound, so it is rather a transferred epithet. A transferred epithet is another figures of speech, and in a transferred epithet, an epithet, that is an adjective, is transferred from the real word which it should be to another one. For example, the roaring may be you, maybe the bus, but roaring, this adjective is placed before road, so the adjective is transferred, the epithet is transferred, and that is why it is called a transferred epithet. So you look down to the roaring road, you search for the signs of daybreak in what little light spills out of bus. So you search for the signs of daybreak. This you is again the pilgrims inside the bus. Search for the signs of daybreak, so it is a night journey. Now it is very clear from here that you search for the signs of daybreak because you are searching, because the pilgrims are searching for the daybreak. So it is a night journey, so all are waiting for the ray of hope, all are waiting for the day and night to end. In what little light spills out of bus, so maybe a little light will come out or come through or come inside the bus, so that you can have this little idea the day is very near or day has already been started. Your own divided face in the pair of glasses on an old man's nose is all the countryside you get to see. So your own divided face in the pair of glasses on an old man's nose is all the countryside you get to see. Peculiar here is that okay, let us see first the image of pair of glasses here. Now you have here the pair of glasses, and you also have the image in pair of glasses. So not only this, we have also here in the pair of glasses you can have the image of the opposite. So this is something the image is expressed in that way. You your own divided face in their pair of glasses on an old man's nose is all the countryside you get to see. So in all the countryside you get to see that the countryside is imagined as the inside of the bus. So there you have nothing to see, nothing to do any kind of activity except watching your divided face in an old man's spectacles. So your own divided face in the pair of glasses on an old man's nose. So on an old man's nose, here you have this picture, this old man, and this cast mark is also important. Later we are going to find it out. See that this old man has a spectacle, and you can have that picture of yourself in these two pair of glasses divided, and you have, because you have nothing to do extraordinary or you have nothing to do any kind of activity inside the bus, so you have this only Now because here we have another picture. See, this is the tarpaulin covered bus, so no light comes in, nothing you can see from the inside. So this is how the poet tries to find out the wretched condition inside of the bus. Now moving forward again, you seem to move continually forward toward a destination just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. So there is a very peculiar similarity between two different aspects. You seem to move continually forward toward a destination just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Find it out. You seem to move continually forward. So why continually forward? Because maybe the road is a bumpy road, it is not a very smooth road. Now we all have the experience of a bumpy road. Now let us find out what is a bumpy road. See, here we have a picture of a bumpy road here. See, these are the humps. So when a truck or a bus or any vehicle goes through this, you will feel moving forward, moving commotion. Now we have also here another picture of a bumpy road. So whenever we go through this kind of bumpy roads, these roads are not regularly available in our regions. However, we can have such roads in different areas. So when we go through these roads, we can have that similar kind of expression or experience that the poet presently has now in this poem. So you seem to move continually forward because of the bumpy road toward a destination because the bus is riding towards Jejuri. So it is called toward a destination just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. See that I was talking about this is the cast mark. So beyond the cast mark, beyond the cast mark, and beyond his eyebrows. So this is beyond the cast mark and this is beyond his eyebrows. So the forward movement, just we shrink our forehead in that way. So this is the forward movement, just hump is coming here, and we all have that kind of experience. I can present you another picture here, what is called of this is the cast mark. And there are lots of cast marks. Let me show you, but before that, this is the forehead shrinking. So beyond the cast mark, look at here the lines. You seem to move continually forward what it is just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows is just like this. So you have this picture. Beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows, this is the humpy roads. So this part is compared with that humpy road like this. So there are lots of shrinkages. So naturally, when the poet is trying to express that you seem to move continually forward because of the humpy road toward a destination just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Now this particular line, this just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Now I'm explaining this, but before you have let us have some glimpses of cast marks. What is called a cast mark? See that here is one type, another, as I put it here, this is another type. So the third one is here, you have another cast mark. So people are painting on the forehead their cast marks. They are highborn. Cast marks are literally suggesting that whether you are a highborn or a lowborn. Naturally, a lowborn doesn't wear a cast mark, but a highborn usually on those days used to paint the cast marks. So this is the old face, this is the old face, and this is the cast mark painted on the forehead. Now as we have an idea of the cast marks, so let us go back to this line, that just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. So cast mark is presenting that because you are a highborn, you have a rightful possibility to go to Jejuri in order to be a proper devotee. Because you are a proper devotee, you have the right to paint a cast mark on your forehead, and you can naturally go to the fair or to the temple, Khandoba temple. The line is also significant because this is symbolic, just beyond the cast mark beyond his eyebrows. Now the poet's journey is not limited to Jejuri only. It is limitless, maybe aimless, maybe in the darker side of the world, because you seem to move continually forward toward a destination just beyond this caste mark, beyond these eyebrows. The moment the old man with that caste mark shrinks his forehead, the poet feels the bumpy road, as well as that he is almost near the destination. But this destination, just because of this word, the presence of the word caste mark is here, the poet tries to find out that it is not a journey within, rather it is it should be expressed in that way, that the journey should be a limitless journey. It is not confined, it is not compounded, it is not limited to a shorter space or to a fixed destination. So maybe the poet and the other pilgrimages or the pilgrims were going to Jejuri, a particular fixed spot, maybe, but the poet's journey is not limited to that Jejuri only. A limitless journey is expressed here, and it is very much symbolic. So just beyond the caste mark, beyond these eyebrows, finally the line also suggests that this caste mark, beyond the caste mark, beyond these eyebrows, as it is an expression of the condition of the Dalits and the lower castes in India, because the upper castes, if they are putting their caste marks on their forehead, so there are people who are lower castes, who are belonging to the lower castes, they can feel inferior, and probably they have no right to go to Jejuri or such famous places in order to be a rightful devotee. So only a rightful devotee can have that caste mark on the forehead. So this is also a hit against those caste system in India. Now moving on to the next lines. Outside the sun has risen quietly, it aims through an eyelet in the tarpaulin and shoots at the old man's glasses. So the sun has risen quietly, so the night journey is almost end. It's outside, the sun has risen quietly, so there is no hue and uproar, hue and cry, there is no uproar, there is no din and bustle. The sun has risen, that is why quietly. It aims through an eyelet in the tarpaulin. So now we need to understand what is an eyelet. An eyelet in the tarpaulin. So this is the eyelet of the tarpaulin. These are the eyelets, these are the eyelets of a tarpaulin. So we know all that why these eyelets are used in order to tie a knot or in order to tie a rope. But here see that it aims through an eyelet of the in the tarpaulin and shoots at the old man's glasses. So the sun directly comes through that eyelet to the old man's glasses. So the old man was there, and we have here a picture of that old man. So kind of this old man with the glasses was there, and the sun rays, you see, you can also have the reflection in the glasses. So directly the sun comes into the old man's glasses. So the old man, who is this old man who is presently having that caste mark inside in his forehead? So this is the old man, this is the caste mark, and this is the how the shoots of the sunrise are falling on the old man's glasses. A sword of sunbeam comes to rest gently against the driver's right temple. Sword of is cut off sunbeam. So sunbeam is cut off, comes to rest gently against the driver's right temple. Gently rest against the driver's right temple. So temple, you need to understand what is called a temple. This spot is called a temple. So a driver is driving, and the sun ray is coming to the right temple of the driver. So the temple is a pun. The temple is also suggesting this spot, and the temple is also suggesting the Khandoba temple. So in the temple, the poet has a pun. So there are lots of figures of speech used in this poem. One of such is this, the pun. So a sort of sunbeam comes to rest gently against the driver's right temple. The bus seems to change direction. So on that way, the bus seems to change the direction. That means the bus is taking another route. So maybe to go to Jejuri, this is the right way. So the bus driver is taking the direction in that way. So there is nothing significant, but apparently there is no significant idea. However, let us come to that end of the part. So at the end of a bumpy ride, with your own face on the either side, when you get off the bus, you don't step inside the old man's head. At the end of the bumpy ride, we can all understand, because of the bumpy road, the ride was bumpy. With your own face on the either side when you get off the bus. So with your own on the either side when you get off the bus, so this the bus has taken the pilgrims tightly in its grip. So finally it is the time of release, and therefore at the end of the bumpy ride, very uncomfortable journey, this bumpy ride, you have the same face on either side. And when you get off the bus, so finally you have the opportunity to get down from the bus to have a look at your destination. Now the last line, you don't step inside the old man's head. That old man, the same old man wearing the spectacle in the bus, you don't step inside the old man's head. And all of a sudden, why does the poet express such a sentence that you don't step inside the old man's head? Now from here on, the actual explanation starts. This poem is a peculiar expression of dissociation of sensibility. Now how does this dissociation of sensibility work, and what is meant by dissociation of sensibility, you need to understand step by step. The last line, you don't step inside the old man's head, introduces the theme of imperviousness, that the poet is blatantly not involved into the matters of devotion, religiosity, and etc. associated with the same kind of religion formats or religious formats. So any kind of religious formats that is not associated strictly with the poet is not involved into this. However, he has come to Jejuri with the other people, but he is unlike a devotee. Like the old man, is completely out of that business. Therefore he doesn't step inside the old man's head. So he is not going to share any kind of religious feelings with the old man. Now this is the theme of imperviousness. This suggests the objectivity and distance with which the poet looks at religion. Now let us try to understand what is called a theory of unification and a theory of dissociation of sensibility. Now here we have the idea of unification of sensibility first. See that here it says the most important characteristic of metaphysical poetry is the unification of thought and feeling, the fusion of intellect and emotion. The metaphysical poets use metaphysical conceit, which is an extended metaphor where the poets try to make similarity between two dissimilar objects or events by drawing ideas from remote and unfamiliar sources. First of all, we have also read metaphysical poems, and there we've already found it out that two dissimilar objects are compared in a beautiful way, so that there is the thoughts and feelings are together. So this is called the unification of sensibility. Now exactly opposite is dissociation of sensibility. Now this dissociation of sensibility is a theory by T.S. Eliot, a renowned critic. Now this theory of dissociation of sensibility, see that let us read, then after that we will explain. Theory of dissociation of sensibility rests largely upon Eliot's description of the disparity in style that exists between metaphysical poets in 16th and early 17th century and poets of late 17th century onward. In the Metaphysical Poets, Eliot claims that this Metaphysical Poets is the name of his essay. which is published in Sacred Woods, probably. Eliot claims that earlier grouping of poets were constantly amalgamating disparate experience. Amalgamating means mixing disparate different experience, and thus expressing their thoughts through experience of feeling, while later poets did not unite their thoughts with their emotive experiences and therefore expressed thought separately from feeling. So thought and feeling are two different objects. Now you can automatically check here. You don't step inside the old man's head suggests that the poet doesn't want to be involved into the religious activity. However, he is in a bus driving and he reached to that destination at Jejuri at the Khandoba temple, a very famous religious spot. Now, how interesting is this, that this theory of sensibility suggests that latter poets did not unite their thoughts and with their emotive experiences and therefore express thought separately from feeling. Now, Arun Kolatkar is also trying to do the same, because if you have this idea, see that this man has something else in his mind, so he is trying to focus that it is not about religion anymore, it is about the person who you are. It is about a particular feeling that is or that should not be involved or associated or amalgamated with your feeling of religion. You may have a very tenacity towards religion, but I may not have. That is what exactly the poet wants to mean here. Now here, so that you don't step inside the old man's head, also suggests a detachment. The poet is an alien, so the theme of detachment is here, where the poet finds out to be an alien, and he is also an Indian, but in that past, while he is going through a place called Jejuri Khandoba temple, a very famous religious spot, but he has not the least idea about it. So in spite of being a typical Indian, he is just an alien, so he is presenting here a kind of defamiliarization. Now you need to understand this concept also, what is called a defamiliarization. Okay, so let us find out what is called a defamiliarization. Now in that case, what our Wikipedia says, let us find it out. See that in Wikipedia it is said the defamiliarization or ostranenie, it's in Russian, is the artistic technique of presenting to audiences common things in an unfamiliar or strange way in order to enhance perception of the familiar. According to the Russian formalists who coined the term, it is the central concept of art and poetry. You just need this part, defamiliarization or ostranenie, just this part about this, or so that you can write this concept while writing an answer. Now if we go back to the poem, see that you don't step inside the old man's head. So when it is about the old man's head's concept, so you don't step inside the old man's head suggests that I am distancing myself, I am detaching myself from that fact. Now interestingly, as the defamiliarization suggests, that presenting to audiences common things in an unfamiliar or strange way in order to enhance perception of the familiar. Think about any poet. A poet portrays a very ordinary object, for example tree, or as you can okay, just give me one example. Here we have a poem on Stephen Spencer's The Express. See that just like the bus, Stephen Spencer wrote a poem on the Express. Now just reading a few lines. After the first powerful plain manifesto, the black statement of pistons, without more fuss, but gliding like a queen, she leaves the station. Simple words, simple lines, simple meaning, a simple description of an express train. But does it really as simple as it is expressed? Perhaps not. The express suggests the power, the speed, and its like. So the express is a symbol of speed and power, just like the bus becomes a symbol of so many things. Now here in express, we all know about what the express train is called, or how it looks like. But the poet defamiliarizes the same concept of the express in a different way, because it's a poetry, because it is a poem, and in a poem defamiliarization is a must happen aspect. So Arun Kolatkar too did the same thing in the bas. He defamiliarized the concept of the bas, or the concept of pilgrimage, the concept of religion. We all know about these concepts: pilgrimage, religion, bas, tour, bumpy roads, forehead, spectacles, old man, everything we know. But he just made it different for us. We are looking at it in different eyes. So the poem, in a peculiar way, differentiates what is common and what is uncommon. The known facts are more aptly known by the poet to us. So this is the concept of defamiliarization. Now what we are talking about as the theory of sensibility, it's not the unification of sensibility, rather it is a dissociation of sensibility. Thoughts and feelings are separated. There is estrangement, defamiliarization, alienation. The last but not the least concept is here the concept of a camera. And for that, let me point out something. Let me move to a particular written phrases. Let me take you to there. See here, I have a piece of writing here. Now let me read and explain it, so it will be beneficial for you. The bus introduces with the strong imageries marked by the visual eye of Kolatkar, one of the major techniques used in Jejuri. So you can understand that the bus is a symbol of camera. This is important. The bus is a symbol of camera. Camera, which its root in the Latin words camera obscura, means a dark chamber. The bus is a camera because of the tarpaulin button down creates an image of a dark chamber. The eyelet of the tarpaulin serves as the opening aperture of the camera. Okay, here you need to understand what is called an aperture. Now an aperture, as we can find here, see, yes, this is the camera hole. So the aperture suggests that more the hole is bigger, the focus is lighter. The more the hole is smaller, the focus is better. So we have a picture here. See that in f22, this is the maximum light is coming through. As you can find here, the maximum light is coming through no, it's up to f16, but it's in f22, it's in f22, f14, f11, f8, f7.1, so f2.8. So this is the light coming in inside of the camera, and as the bus is represented as the camera, the eye of a camera. See that the bus seems to change direction at the empty right of the own face. The thorough poem represents the same, and in that writing that I was reading, say the eyelet of the tarpaulin serves as the opening aperture of the camera, and the old man's glasses and the bus's rear end mirrors as the lenses. The two lenses could refer to myopic, as we can understand, short-sightedness, and hyperopic. Hyperopic is exactly opposite of myopic, larger domain, therefore more open to different perspectives. He chooses not to use the myopic version or the myopic lenses, and here Kolatkar camera eye begins to roll. The camera eye is very significant to Jejuri. So what we understand from this, that bus is a symbol of camera. Now because the bus is a symbol of camera, it suggests it's like Lagoon, Joseph Conrad's Lagoon. Let us have a look at the picture of Lagoon, and it is here. Yes, this is the spot. This is called the Lagoon. It is written, the Lagoon is an essay by Joseph Conrad, where the cano, as we can understand, this is the cano works as a camera. So this is the perspective of an eye works as a camera. As for the bus, it is here the bass works as the eye of the camera, and the eye of the poet works as the camera too. So when an eye becomes a camera, then the description begins exactly what the Lagoon has proposed or the bass has given you. So both the Lagoon by Joseph Conrad and Arun Kolatkar's the bass present you the view of a camera, whereas an eye works like a typified camera. See that? The eye as a camera, and here the eye is not the eye of a human being, rather the eye of a bus or the canoe. Now here again it says something: camera captures moments which becomes a part of our memory. This aspect of memory has a thematic significance in Jejuri, which is characteristic of Kolatkar's style of surrealism. Surrealism was meant to be always in fluctuation, hence there is a lot of movement in the poem. Now you have to understand what does this surrealism mean, or the term suggests what surrealism suggests something. Now we are coming to that point, but before that let us understand. Camera captures moments which becomes a part of our memory. This aspect of memory has a thematic significance in Jejuri. Now first you have to understand how does the bass works as a camera. See that here we have this. Think about it as the bass. So the dark chamber, it is completely as a camera. Okay, now there is a pinhole tarpaulin pinhole where the ropes were tied, and from there, from these points the sun rays are coming. So inside the camera box, this is the camera box, inside the light is coming and the bus is noticing everything. So this bus becomes the camera and it notices everything outside, and the aperture is the item where the light comes from outside to inside. Okay, let us have a look at the poem. See here, first of all, here in this sentence you search for the signs of daybreak in what little light spills out of bus, and in that line it aims through an eyelet in the tarpaulin and shoots at the old man's glasses. So the old man's glass is also the inside mirror of a camera, and the light is coming from outside into that glass, and it gives a reflection of the outside. So exactly the bass operates like a camera, and the poet handles the bass as the camera, just like Joseph Conrad handles it in his The Lagoon. So this is where you can find the similarity between two objects. Now moving on to the explanation again, we were talking into the surrealism. So why it is surrealistic and what is surrealism, we need to understand at the end of this session. Now, moving on to that same explanatory part where we are, see here, surrealism was meant to be always in fluctuation. Hence there is a lot of movement in the poem. The cold wind keeps whipping and slapping, the bus journey moved continually forward, etc. So here it is crucial to mention that there are a lot of movements, but the movements are found only in nature. The use of surrealistic devices like odd juxtapositions of objects, free floating forms, automatic writing, and Freud's influence of the unconscious and vivid images which are symbolic in nature like dreams supports the argument. So Freud's influence of unconscious, that is literally connected with the dream. So you have surrealism. So both surrealism and Freud's influence of unconscious are connected with the dream-like sequences. In surrealism, now okay, this is time where we need to move forward, focus on surrealistic capacities. What is called surrealism, we need to understand. Now as we are talking about surrealism, if you Google it, you can find here is this surrealism about. a cultural movement that started in 1917, best known for its visual artworks and writings and the juxtaposition of uncommon imagery. Now follow this only, juxtaposition of uncommon imagery. Artists painted unnerving, illogical scenes, sometimes with photographic precision, creating strange creatures from everyday objects and developing painting techniques that allowed the unconscious to express itself. So exactly what this material here suggests, that unconscious and juxtaposition of different images, etc. Now here you need to focus some more. Works of Surrealism feature the element of surprise, unexpected juxtapositions. However, many Surrealist artists, now at this point you don't need non sequitur, it's not necessary to understand. Many Surrealist artists and writers regard their work as an expression of the philosophical movement first and foremost, with the works of themselves being an artifact. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. Now surrealist artists like Salvador Dali, Magritte, Max Ernst, this is Max Ernst, German painter, sculptor, graphic artist. So this is his painting, so the Elephant Ellipse, 1921 painting. This is also a surrealist painting, but we are not going to explain this. We are going to explain one good painting of it. This is the painting. This painting is called the False Mirror. Now if you Google it, okay, let us have another look at this false mirror, just like this. So, and this is very relevant for this poem too, because the poem is about the camera as an eye, as we have this picture. So this is another surrealist painting which is very important for this present context. Now if you go to the Google and search for it, the false mirror, you will find here the description of the false mirror, but okay, you can read it by yourself. I am not interested in that. Let us proceed further. Here the false mirror is widely acknowledged to represent the limitations of human vision. A mirror reflects what is placed before it, whereas the eye is subjective. It filters and processes those images that it wishes to see, but it does not merely reflect, but thinks and feels about those images that the brain processes. The eye in the false mirror also serves several purposes. As an observer, we can look through the painting. We look through the eye towards the blue sky filled with white floating clouds. It is almost as if we are looking through a window that is in the shape of an eye. See that? We are looking through the window that is in the shape of an eye. So what Magritte has managed to achieve with the false mirror is the sense that the observer is also being watched by the eye. Does the eye see what we see? The observer and observed become one identity, with the identifiers of each becoming somewhat blurred. So here you have this vision. So stretched eye, the size of the eyes, there are no eyelashes, and every description you will find here. But the description is this, that this, as an observer, we are observing the painting. See here, we are observing the painting. Simultaneously, the blue sky, you are observing. The eye is observing what? And as we are people observing what? The eye is also observing us. So the observed and the observer are both becoming the same identity here. So this is somehow the juxtaposition of thoughts and feelings. This is the surrealistic attempt. Now if we move back to the poem again, so this is the surrealistic attempt. This is the camera feature of the poem. Now again, to that material, floating forms, automatic writing, and Freud's influence of unconscious and vivid images which are symbolic in nature like dreams supports the argument. These juxtapositions also functions as dichotomies, which are old man and the urban young traveler. Dichotomies suggest the opposites. Okay, old man and the urban young traveler. The old man well defined by the caste mark and the traveler beyond the caste mark. Okay, so these are the differences, these are the distinctions or juxtapositions throughout the poem. So the impersonal approach is progressively reinforced by the use of phrases like you look down, your own divided face. See that? You, your, etc. You get off the bus, etc. This is the impersonal approach. Impersonal approach is important. This is again an T.S. Eliot's theory. This is the theory that we have also read earlier. Now this theory of impersonality, it is called the theory of impersonality. Let us learn a bit about it. Now for further assistance, we need to move back to again our sources, internet, so where we have googled already. See that here the uses of impersonality of T.S. Eliot's poetry. You can have here the idea. Okay, let us focus it bit. You can have here the explanation. Now T.S. Eliot in his essay Tradition and Individual Talent unveils the belligerently anti-romantic theory. He refuses the romantic idea of the subjective origin of poetry by saying poetry is not a turning loose. Now look at here very closely. This is important. Poetry is not a turning loose of emotion but an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality but an escape from personality. This is called the depersonalization. This was a direct contrast with the romantic perception of poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions, as Wordsworth terms as that which takes its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. As we know that in the preface to the lyrical ballads by Wordsworth and Coleridge, Wordsworth stated that poetry is an emotion, basically a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, that it takes its origin from the emotions recollected in tranquility. This was Wordsworth's idea, and going against that idea, T.S. Eliot proposes that poetry is not a turning loose of emotion but an escape from emotion. So you should not be emotional, rather you should escape from that emotional part. It is not the expression of personality but an escape from personality. Now, through the impersonality theory of poetry, Eliot proposes that poet is a mere medium which facilitates the composition of a poem. Using the analogy of the necessity and function of a catalyst in the chemical reaction between sulfur dioxide and oxygen to form sulfurous acid used by him to make it clear. Now, Eliot gave an example of this. How does the poet become a catalyst in creating the poem? So, poet's emotion should not be there. Now, more interesting part you can find here. As I have already searched for you here, but this depersonalization process has to be explained, and Eliot brings the analogy to chemical reaction to explain it. When oxygen and sulfur dioxide are mixed in the presence of a filament of platinum, they form sulfurous acid. This combination takes place only when platinum is present, although the new acid contains no trace of platinum. Platinum is the catalyst that helps the process of chemical reaction, but it itself is apparently unaffected, has remained inert, neutral, and unchanged. The mind of the poet is the shred of platinum. Its presence may be necessary for partly or exclusively to operate for the combination of the experience in order to give birth to a piece of poetry. So up to this is very clear. The poet's task is to produce the poem, except that there is nothing. So the poet has to work as a catalyst. Like a catalyst, he produces the poem and remains intact. He or she has nothing to do with the production, that is the poetry, the creativity, the creation. Eliot puts it beautifully. The more completely separate in him will be the man who suffers and the mind which creates. The more perfectly will be the mind digest and transmute the passions which are its material. If you don't understand this, okay, it doesn't matter, just I'm reading the latter part. Eliot believes that the greatness of the poet does not depend on the greatness of the intensity of the emotions, but on the intensity of the artistic process. This you can understand. The pressure under which the fusion takes place. He says that the business of the poet is not to find new emotions, but to use the ordinary ones, and in working them up in poetry to express feeling which are not in actual emotions at all, and emotions which he has never experienced will serve his turn as well as of the familiar to him. Eliot rejects Wordsworth's definition of poetry as emotion recollected in tranquility. It is neither emotion nor recollection nor without distortion of meaning tranquility. The poetic process is a process of concentration and not recollection of very great number of experiences, and this concentration is not conscious or deliberate. So this is not the turning loose of emotion but an escape from emotion. It is not the expression of personality but an escape from personality. Now you can understand that here the poet termed as if you, not I or me or mine, etc. There is no subjectivity, rather there is an objectivity. No turning loose of emotion, escape from emotion. The personality is not mixed here. Naturally, the juxtaposition suggests all those impersonal activities that Arun Kolatkar so far has presented in the poem. If you are a little curious, I can show you some of the other poems of Arun Kolatkar where you can also find such pithy sentences and such significant lines, but there is no turning loose of emotion. See that the butterfly, there is no story behind it. It is bit like a second. It hinges around itself. It has no future. It is the pin down to no past. It's spun on the present. Its little yellow butterfly, it has taken these wretched hills under its wings, just a pinch of yellow. It opens before it closes, and it closes before it, oh, where is it? So I'm not going to explain this poem more. I should not be so deliberate. However, you can find that even in this small poem, even in this smaller lines, you can find so many intellectual ideas. So these are the ideas that are shared by Arun Kolatkar in his Jejuri, the collection of poems. Now if you follow, there is another poem called Chaitanya, a heart of legends. On a hill slope looked up from its gazing when Chaitanya came inside. See that the lines are very easier, they are coming very smooth. But if you can find it closer, look closer, you will find that there is no turning loose of emotion or direct expression. Pithy sentences, shorter sentences, no strange languages here, no strange diction is used. So very interesting, and the interesting part is that he uses the figures of speech in a very deliberate way, so that the audience or the readers will understand it beautifully. So coming back to the poem again, so I believe that you have like the express, the bus, or like the butterfly, or like Chaitanya, the poem The Bus by Arun Kolatkar is somehow clear to you. Now you can find more and more materials on the internet about it, and you can search it, you can read it out, and you can give the examples that I have given as a cross reference while writing an answer. And last but not the least, let me show you that beautiful painting. This is the Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. Very unique painting by a surrealist artist, and you can have the explanation of that image, a painting, in internet. You go through it, you can explain it in the writing of an answer of the poem. You can also explain it while creating your own ideas about it and about the poem. So this is the end of the discussion. We will be returning back with another poem. So, and if anything if anything is left out to explain, I will come again with another topic, and I will take it into that poem or into that topic. So if anything is left, I will explain that too for you in the next video. Until this, okay.